Let's talk about the biggest misconception when it comes to intuitive eating. The number one misconception that most people have about intuitive eating is that it ignores nutrition. And that's simply just not true. Most people who are misinformed about this notion usually have not read the book or have not done their due diligence when it comes to researching intuitive eating. Yes, intuitive eating says that you should release the diet mentality and neutralize all food, even the food that was once off limits, especially releasing the mentality around cheat days and treat days and can have this and can't have that, should have this and shouldn't have that. And it really makes it so that any food is all the same. Now, I know this can be such a struggle for a lot of people to assume that a salad is equal to a burger, but that's not the idea behind it. The idea behind it is that when you finally make peace with what's on your plate and you stop guilting and shaming yourself for wanting that burger or wanting hot Cheetos or whatever it may be, that you can actually enjoy that food. And the more that you are able to take pleasure in the food you eat, and the more that you allow yourself to explore any food and you neutralize food, is that you naturally gravitate towards food that is going to make you feel good, food that is going to give you energy, food that is going to give you clarity, and food that is going to give you pleasure as well. I know that when I first got started in the intuitive eating community, I looked at food as good or bad because I had been ingrained in diet culture for so long that I would eat healthy the entire week and then I would allow myself on Sundays to really indulge in whatever I wanted. But even though I allowed myself to indulge in whatever I wanted, I still felt bad. And then Monday would roll around and I would try to out-exercise what I ate the day before. And I did this for many years and I just was so over of feeling bad about what I wanted to eat. And so when I started the intuitive eating lifestyle, I allowed myself to slowly explore foods that I only allowed once in a while or once a week or once every 6 months. And when I started to allow myself to have those foods around, or I allowed myself to indulge in them, I realized that some of them weren't that great. Like, I put them on such a high pedestal that I forgot that they weren't that tasty. Like the cake that you have sometimes at parties tastes so fake, tastes so sugary, it just isn't appetizing. And once I started to realize that the sooner I can take food and these cheat meals and these guilty type of foods that I once didn't allow myself to have, and I allowed myself to have them and I took them off the pedestal, I was able to really make peace with them and I didn't want them as much. Now, that's not the case for all food that was once off limits for me, but I will say that I actually enjoy the food that I once never allowed myself to have. For example, I used to never let myself eat brownies, never, because I always assumed that brownies were going to make me fat and I was a bad person if I ate them, and all my hard work would go out the window. And just within the last few months, I've made several brownies for myself and for friends and for family, and it's been a great experience to allow that food to come back into my life and not look at it like it's off limits. And when we take those foods and we allow ourselves to have them and to actually enjoy them, we realize we don't really need that much of them. It's when something's off limits, when it's forbidden, when it's put up on a pedestal, that it's that much more alluring. It's like if I told you don't look at red cars while you're driving, all you're going to see is red cars. So when you take that food and you neutralize it and you allow yourself to make peace with it and you reintroduce it into your life little by little, you might even realize that one, maybe you don't really like it as much as you thought you did, and two, it becomes less appealing. The whole point of intuitive eating is that when you neutralize food, you naturally gravitate towards food that makes you feel good, as I mentioned earlier. And by doing this, by releasing that food isn't bad and that food isn't good or something is better than the other, you allow yourself to figure out what foods work for you and what doesn't. You actually can tell what your body needs and you can give your body just that. Ladies, let's talk about PMS just for a hot second. If you are like me, you can't help it. You want the salty, you want the sweet, and this is just part of how it goes during this time. I allow myself to have those foods when I'm going through PMS, and I don't feel bad at all. In fact, I enjoy it for what it is. So now, the way I eat with intuitive eating, I get to actually enjoy the pleasure of eating these foods, but I don't feel bad for it. And therefore, I get to experience the full spectrum of pleasure and excitement with the food. But when I'm done, I'm done. And I naturally gravitate towards food that makes me feel good. And the same is for you. The sooner you start to release the diet mentality and start to make peace with food, the sooner you're going to experience this phenomenon for yourself. Now, if you would like to learn more about intuitive eating, I have a free group on Facebook where you can jump in, join us in the conversation. I cover all 10 principles of intuitive eating. So if you've been wanting to learn more about it, you can join us in there. The link is in my bio. Otherwise, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.